the side there. If you have a mobile phone, please, if you could turn it to silent. If you need to take a call, then do step outside. My name's Nick Blankley. I'm the chairman of the Parish Council. We'll just go, for the sake of the recording, we'll go around the table to my left, each councillor, just to introduce themselves.
Max Houghton, Vice Chairman of the Parish Council.
Neville Hudson, Chairman of the Staffing Committee.
Phil Fellows, Parish Council, District Council, Chair of General Purposes.
Linda Wright, I'm member of the Parish Council and Thanet District Council.
Colin Brown.
And John Tiley, Chairman of the US.
Councillor Jim Moore.
Bob Preble, Chairman of Finance and Chairman of Planning.
Jane Bevan, Parish Clerk.
Okay, and
Bill Anderson, Deputy Clerk.
thank you. Okay, so we have apologies for absence from Councillor Emma Dawson, Councillor Luke Evans, and PC Steve England. Is there any other? Have you been notified? Nope.
I can't hear.
Sorry. We come to declarations of interest. Anybody around the table who has a declaration of a pecuniary interest in items on the agenda?
Item 8, Chairman.
Thank you. Any others? No. Let's then move to the minutes of the full council meeting, which was held on the 25th of November, 2025. Copies have been circulated in advance, and there are some printed copies on the table. Can I look at page 1 for accuracy?
Can I just point out I was present at the meeting?
Thank you. Anything on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? Can I accept those then as an accurate copy of the minutes?
Move, Chairman.
A seconder, please. All in favour? Thank you. Then we move on to the Chairman's report and public participation. We do have a lengthy agenda this evening, so I'll be brief. No? We have a lengthy agenda this evening. I'll try to be brief. In the run-up to Christmas, I had a number of events, including a lunch at King Ethelbert School, along with members of the Residents Association. We were served there by the pupils, and it was a very enjoyable session. I also enjoyed the village Christmas event and the Boxing Day Morris dancers. Business-wise, I did attend the Parish and Council Forum at Thanet District Council, along with the Parish Clerk and with Councillor Fellows.
That's me.
I'll leave it at that. All other items of interest, I think, are already on the agenda, and we'll deal with them as we get there. But there is an opportunity now, if there's anybody in the public section who would like to speak. The rule is you have 3 minutes on the topic, on your chosen topic, as they say. Does anybody like to speak at all? No? Thank you. Okay, so we move on now to committee reports. Finance, Councillor Preble, please.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met on the 13th of January and agreed the 2026-2027 draft budget, a process that started last November. We're grateful to our Parish Clerk Jane for her report and financial data papers circulated with today's agenda. In addition, the Finance Committee considered matters in relation to housing development, assets, tenancy arrangements, and office provision. Decisions for these are covered by tonight's agenda. The draft budget has been prepared based upon the forecasted financial situation at the end of this financial year. Issues have come to light, DG through the staffing review, that have identified resource, pay and pension matters that have to be addressed as a priority. These are contractual matters. Also, TDC posted on 23rd of December, yes, just before Christmas, the decision notice to proceed with the 1,600 homes. This gave a very short window to make a decision about the legality of the planning decision and land ownership. Consequently, we have had to use some legal fee monies from this year's budget. Last year, the Band D resident precept to provide the parish council was £46.44 per annum. To meet our contractual obligations and to continue to enhance and protect our village requires a precept of £62.55, an annual increase of £16.11, which is £1.34 per month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Chairman of Finance? Thank you. Councillor Tiley, Environment and Open Spaces.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Not too much has been happened in the environmental and open spaces areas. A few things to mention. MRG still is slowly improving, and we have the compound now tarmac, so it's much easier for the goals and other equipment to be moved out of the compound to be used for football. Football matches are becoming frequent. We now have 2 pitches that are both being used very frequently. So that's very good usage at the MRG. Moving on to Dogacre, we finally got the last tree felled on the corner of Dogacre that was, we were advised was dangerous, so it's now been felled. And also during Christmas, the council invested in some lights to light Dogacre and also around the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree was sponsored for us, but we also managed to get some sponsorship for the lights that were wrapped around the trees in Dogacre. So it made Dogacre actually look the nicest it's been for a long, long time during Christmas. And that is really all I have to talk about. Other things, shelters, not much happens this time of the year with the shelters because of the weather, but they all seem to be in reasonably good shape, and obviously we'll be starting maintenance on those again soon.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Tiley? Yes, Councillor Brown.
Any news on the accessible toilets in the playing field? Are they accessible?
At the moment, no, because we're still waiting for the ramp to go into up to the quarter cabin.
And another question, we mentioned a long time ago that we're going to have a buddy seat in the high street. Are we still waiting for planning permission? Or?
I think we need to consult with, I think that will come on to when we think about what we're going to do with the new, there's a fund that we are
Pride in place.
Pride in place, and that may be time with that and the pride in place and get some pride in place money.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll move on then to report from the Planning Committee. Councillor Prebble.
Thank you. The Planning Committee has held regular meetings in its capacity as consultees, Thanet District Council being the formal local planning authority. With central government drive for new homes and the planning authority observant of government policy, it will always be very difficult to reject planning applications, especially given costs. Nevertheless, the Parish Council to influence the proposed development on their doorsteps. To thank Councillor Nick Blankley for the hour he's dedicated, and he'll provide an update about it shortly.
Thank you. Any questions for Finance Committee? Planning, sorry. No, thank you. Move on then. General purposes, Councillor Fellows.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's a fairly short agenda, but I'll tell you the few things that came out of it was that we're now looking to review our website, which is a bit outdated now. So that's in the plans. Obviously, Christmas has got in the way of that. So we are looking at that. We're undertaking a review of all the village halls and whether there's enough capacity in the village for that going forward. We're doing a review of leisure and recreation, and that's Councillor Wright that's undertaking that. And we looked at whether councillors should be issued with any laptops, but at this time, costs, we've decided against it at this time. That's about it.
Thank you. Any questions for general purposes? Nope. Thank you. The minutes of the standing committees have been circulated to members. So to note the planning committee minutes from the 23rd of September, 21st of October and 8th of November. Environment Committee 4th of August, Finance Committee 2nd of September, and General Purposes the 11th of August. Okay, so we move on now to items for decision. The first one is the planning application for 1,600 new homes in Birchington. You may have read in the Parish magazine or elsewhere that the planning committee decision at Thanet Council that was made on the 26th of November to defer a planning decision to officers to contractual agreements. The planning permission was granted on the 23rd of December. So the day before Christmas Eve, the Parish Council office received a notification at 17:29 hours telling us that the approval had been issued. Now, that's an important matter for us because if we were to object or have any problem with the approval, that would need a judicial review typically, and there is a 6-week time limit in which to perform certain actions to make the judicial review happen. So the office was closed until the 5th of January. So effectively, we lost 2 weeks in the 6-week process. So on return to the office, councillors and the clerk worked together to devise a plan, which was to seek urgent legal advice. Having got the advice, having identified the advisor, as it were, we then convened to have a conference with the solicitors to discuss the issues and set in motion a process which had 2 stages. The first one was to gain an opinion, a legal opinion, on whether we had sufficient grounds to mount a judicial review. And the second stage would then be to issue a PAP, a pre-application protocol letter to TDC, setting out the grounds of the objection raised in the judicial review and inviting them to respond. So the first stage was completed as of yesterday, and we had a conference yesterday with council. Council gave us feedback on elements that we'd raised and gave us a view as to whether he thought there was strength enough in the matters we'd raised. Some of the issues were put to one side because they were not strong enough. Others required some further investigation. However, given the time constraints, so yesterday today would be 14 days from the 3rd of February, which is the end of the 6-week period. We would have to allow TDC 14 days to respond to anything that we put forward. So the time was against us, and we decided that the pre-application protocol and the judicial review was probably not feasible in the time that we have been given. However, there are some issues which are still under investigation and which council will come back to us in due course with advice on where we might be able to go. In bringing this together, we've had to fund the legal action. There is provision in the budget already for legal fees, but this advice goes beyond what's already budgeted. And so the councillors, together with the clerk, took emergency action to authorise the steps that we took and authorise the payments as well. So this piece together is an update, but it's also seeking authorisation of that expenditure by full council in public so that there's full transparency as to the decisions that we've made. So I think that's sufficient for now. We will put a motion if there is any points of debate or any questions, we will then put a motion. So
Could I ask a question, Mr. Chair? I just see the emails come around today, and we've said we're spending £5,000 to go forward. Is there going to be a cut-off that we're not going to spend any more money? It worries me with legal fees, it goes up and up. Is there a figure that you've got in mind? So that's it, we can't do any more.
The costings that we're working to is each stage would come to probably about £5,000.
Yeah.
And the possibility that that might overrun, we don't know, because we're not quite sure what the issues are going to be that will be raised and how much effort will be required to investigate them. So that will be a matter of judgment if those matters arise. What we don't want to do is to have to lose more time by convening a full council meeting in public in order to approve that expenditure. So part of the motion will be to give authorization for any reasonable further expense that might be necessary as agreed in consultation between the clerk and councillors.
Thank you.
Councillor
Okay,
White,
yeah,
right.
have you considered opening up a crowdfunding page?
Crowdfunding has been mentioned. The position we're in at the moment is we need to understand whether we feel that we've got a strong enough case to stand a chance of winning. Once that is determined one way or the other, then I think if crowdfunding is appropriate, then we would look for a suitable person to lead a crowdfunding initiative. Yes.
As you know, I've been involved in a previous DCO, and the costs were they collected over £100,000 towards the legal fees.
Yep. We will need to take. Obviously, we need to be very responsible in the way that we manage any funding, any commitment to funding, and we need to control fully any expenditure. Taking steps to ensure that that's the case, and we have to balance that, the expenditure, against the potential benefit for the community overall in whatever actions we decide to take. The point? No. Okay, I would like then to propose a motion to approve the emergency decision taken in consultation between councillors and the clerk to commit £10,000 to legal costs arising from these actions. And then secondly, to delegate authority to the clerk in consultation with councillors to spend above the £10,000 if required to conclude the second stage of the consideration. So there's two pieces to the motion. The first piece being authorization of the emergency expenditure of up to £10,000. Are there any questions, any comments?
Could I move that we accept that?
Do we have a seconder?
Yeah. Yeah.
All those in favour, please show. All those against? Those abstaining? So one abstention. Thank you. The second piece is then to delegate authority to the clerk in consultation with councillors to spend above the £10,000 allocation if required to conclude the second stage of action. Any comments, any points?
Would there
Councillor Wright.
Would there be a limit on the overspend?
That will be a matter of consultation between the clerk and councillors as a body.
Could I move part two?
Sorry, is that
You know,
Councillor?
I'm just slightly concerned about this. This is a major moment for the parish as a whole. The thought of 1,600 houses and 3,000 to 5,000 people moving, and we're not sure quite how the infrastructure will balance those numbers. But having read some of the legal documents, I can understand why different barristers will have different views about them, and it makes it very difficult for us as laymen to pick one side or the other. My concern is that I think Thanet District Council and maybe Councillor Fellows can advise better on this, but I think they are going to fight their corner. And having looked at the documents this afternoon and the documents from the solicitors of St John's College, it's quite clear that they think that they have got an extremely strong case to go ahead. And I'm just a little bit hesitant that if we go we go to the next stage, which is another 5,000 odd pounds, and we reach a point where we're not quite sure then whether to take the gamble to go further at greater expense or to cut our losses at that stage. And even if we think that way of cutting our losses at that stage, should we actually step back and think of cutting our losses now? And I just don't feel that as an individual, I have enough legal knowledge to comment on that one way or the other. But I think we just need to be very careful that this could, in our desperation almost to stop all of this, we could get dragged, if we're not very, very careful, we could get dragged into another few thousand here, another consultation with another barrister, and suddenly this is rolling on for some time. And we also, slightly off in the margins, but if this does go on for some time, then of course there is another election in the middle of all of this, and we might be not here, and so someone else is going to have to pick up that ball and run with it. So I'm not against it per se, but I'm just a little wary that we need to absolutely make sure that we're all clear exactly what we're signing up to at each stage. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Moore.
I'll just say, I think it's important to point out, I don't think it's been said, that the advice we've been given so far was on a planning side of things. The way forward is to do with the trust and charities, which is, it's like talking to a doctor. Doing these every day is different to having your eyes looked at every day. So that's why it's got to change. We're changing the course slightly from planning to trust and charities law, and I think that's quite important that we know that that's known.
Yeah. Councillor Fellows.
The reason why I'm sitting here, and I think Neville's the same, 10 years ago we thought this parish council wasn't doing enough to challenge this. So I would support whatever this parish council can do, but I'm with Max, with it, it's got to be within reason. And I think we're trying to challenge a decision that Thanet Council's made. We've looked at the planning points. There is no planning points that we can challenge. And now we're looking at whether St John's College have a right to sell that land or can get permission on that. The documentation I saw today, Thanet Council were very sure that what they were doing is right with the S106 agreements. And I think we've come to the end of the road with it personally. I think if there is an issue with the land and the trusts, I think that will be picked up when they try to sell that land to developers. I don't think it's us for now to spend thousands upon thousands of pounds to try and challenge the ownership of that land. I think that would be for when they try to sell it to a developer. I think that's when it will get picked up. I don't think it's us to challenge the ownership of that land.
Okay, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I agree with Phil and Max. The DCO for the airport ran into hundreds of thousands of pounds, and I think we have to be very mindful to rein in or have a limit of how much we're prepared to put into this.
Of course. Councillor Hudson.
Yeah, Chairman, thank you. The problem with this is the timescale that the planning permission was announced just before Christmas. The timescale between it being announced and the opportunity for the parish council or members of the public to make any influence on it, and it's going to run out fairly soon, and that's why the council has taken barrister's opinion, and in fact 2 different barristers have been advising the council on it, and we need to complete that piece of advice to see whether or not we go forward with a judicial review. I would just say that the question of the 1,600 homes has been the biggest item of discussion, debate, and resident opinions since I've been involved with the council, some 30 or 40 years. And I think it is a major point that we should be doing what we can. If we fail, that's because we legally can't go any further. if we avoid doing that and checking on the legalities, which is where most of the cost is concerned, whether we don't take the appropriate advice, I think we failed. So we've got to do our best to protect it. And that is really precisely what local councils should be doing, looking after the views of the residents. We've all heard them. We've seen the placards. We've heard the speeches. We've seen them attend to planning meetings. We need to support those people. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We'll go Councillor Moore, Councillor Prebble, and then Councillor Brown.
Both funding and timescales have been mentioned as probably the most important discussions that have been going on. Crowdfunding has been mentioned, and from my point of view is if we were to go to the next stage to find out from the qualified barrister in this case trusts and charities, their opinion on it. Once we've got that, my point of view is that we go then based upon crowdfunding, and when there's all the time the funding's there, I look at it, the residents of Birchington want to continue with it. It's taken out of our hands and the residents have their say.
Thank you. Councillor Prebble.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry about the crowdfunding because that's later on if we decide to go down that
That's
route.
it, yeah, quite good.
And as you say, that would be down to residents really to raise the money. I have to say, I think I've read enough to know that Thanet Council got a good case for proceeding, and I'm inclined to say stop now.
Okay. Councillor Brown.
It's a big decision that we make tonight. I just think, I feel we're being rushed, and I think it's not unreasonable to write to Thanet Council and saying 23rd of December is out of the question, and they should give us another 2 weeks so we can have an honest decision. I've learned something tonight that I didn't know last week, and I was just thinking, let's step back. The public will ask to give us reasonable time. I think Thanet Council should give us another 2 weeks. I can't see what's the issue. Really can't. Reasonable, common sense.
In response to that, I wrote to the Chief Executive at Thanet Council complaining that the timing was, I felt mischievous. He assured me that it was the moment when they were ready, everything was ready, and there was no reason to delay, and presumably sending an email at 5:30 on the day before Christmas Eve was just business as usual for TDC.
I question that.
And he didn't budge. Any other points? Okay, so just to summarize, there are multiple concerns about expense and about controlling future expenditure. To be clear, we embarked on 2 stages at £5,000 each at the outset, and we had consensus that that was the thing to do at that time, and so we've taken that action. So that 2 lots of £5,000, the opinion, and then the subsequent investigation and follow-up, those we've already embarked on those actions. We can't undo them. So the £10,000, the 2 5s added together, needs to be approved to make it a correct decision.
We've done that.
So can I take that first?
You did that.
We've done that.
I thought we did that.
We did
We've
that.
done that.
Well, we've not had a vote on that.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah,
We did.
It hasn't been a full council decision.
I
It was
was
only
thinking of the
Max-
second bit,
Max
that was
abstained.
aspect.
It's voted
I
a
was
minute ago.
supportive of that.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to?
So we need to, have we done the first
Yeah.
Done
motion?
the first one.
Yeah,
Okay, so the first motion was
Spend,
carried,
yeah.
and that was unanimous?
Max abstained.
Sorry.
I was thinking of the second one. But I support the
That's already done.
this bit.
All right, so
we had a majority anyway.
the first motion has been carried. The second motion then about spending further funds beyond the £10,000. The proposal is that if this second stage runs over, then the clerk in consultation with councillors would discuss whether that is what we want to do or not. Anything beyond the second stage will be subject to further agreement and debate, and any further expenditure beyond that. So the proposal is to delegate authority to the clerk in consultation with councillors to spend above the 10,000 allocation, if required, to conclude the second stage only. So this isn't an open check to go and do anything beyond that. So that's the proposal. Do I have a
I'd like to
proposal?
propose it.
Seconder? All those in favour, please show. All those against? All those abstaining?
Yeah. So,
Thank you. Right, I got there in the end. Thank you for your help.
Four in favour and 4 abstaining.
So we have 4 in favour and 4 against. The 1 abstention.
No,
No.
no.
4
4 in
abstained.
favour.
1 against and 4 abstentions. Sorry.
That's carried.
Just so that you.
Yep, thank you. Right, move on to Rossetti Gardens.
So could you, I didn't hear, so could you say all that again? Because I think you lost.
So we just had the vote for that second motion
Yeah.
was 4 in favour,
Yeah.
4 abstentions and 1 against.
So it's carried.
Thank you. We'll now move on to Rossetti Gardens. Councillor
Declare-
Tiley.
An interest, Chairman. I'll be at the other end.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Right, Rossetti Gardens.
It's not got an interest in the City Garden, is it?
No,
no.
Neville,
Neville, this isn't your. This
wrong,
isn't-
wrong item.
Oh, sorry.
This is your.
One step in
You
front.
come in,
Come
you
back.
come back.
Excitement.
All is forgiven.
Nice try.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening. Rossetti Gardens.
Yeah.
As this falls under the EOS remit, I'll give some background and an indication where we currently are and reaffirm, subject to approval of full council, our interest in pursuing the securing of this community asset. There's 5 sections to my brief presentation. Firstly, I'll give you some background information and reaffirm the background. Secondly, I'll talk about current developments. And thirdly, about our latest communications. And then I've got 2 other items that are basically, I would like to the facts that Rossetti Gardens are highlighted as an important community asset in the past and that steps were made to secure it. And also then finally a proposal to council if it deems it wants to pursue securing this historic asset. So basically, Rossetti Gardens. Okay. Some background. In 2019, Birchington Parish Council started the process of acquiring 3 community assets from Thanet District Council. To date, we've successfully negotiated the transfer of 2 of those assets, Dog Acre and the Memorial Recreation Ground. The 3rd asset was being transferred to BPC. At the time, it was a piece of land, Rossetti Gardens, adjacent to Christie's Wine Bar. The negotiations were taking slightly longer than with other assets, as TDC had an annual income from the land, namely a licence for £400 per year, paid by the tenants and owners of Christie's, to rent part of the garden for use of their customers for outdoor seating and a smoking area. Negotiations carried through 2020 and 2021, and heads of terms document was produced indicating the land would be transferred to BPC for a sum of £4,000, but this was never signed. It should be noticed that this all took part in the height of the COVID pandemic. It has been explained that while the licence was renewed on an annual basis, it could have been cancelled and not renewed at any time. TDC used third party to calculate the valuation of £4,000, and the cost of employing the third party supplier was borne by TDC. Jane, since becoming clerk in June 22, contacted TDC on a number of occasions and also contacted Boys and Moore. Andrea Plant is our contact at TDC, and Robert Mousdale, a solicitor at Boys and Moore, who is now retired, and the case has been passed on to his successors. Our solicitors have remained in contact and have requested updates. And Jane has experienced some difficulty in communicating with TDC on this matter. Okay, moving on now to more recent developments. On Friday, the 1st of March 2024, Jane spoke to Andrea Plant TDC and was informed that the Rossetti Gardens transfer case had been closed according to TDC. Andrea from TDC referred to a number of emails between herself and our solicitor, Robert Mousdale, saying that they're waiting for instruction and reported the matter have been put on hold. We have no recollection of those emails. Okay. Right, just found another piece of paper. Sorry about this, folks.
Sorry, glad it's
Too many
not
bits
just
of
me
paper.
having an off evening.
There we go. A copy of the letter sent to you. Right, okay. Following on from that, Jane sent a copy of a letter to TDC in March 2024, and they made us aware that the asset was no longer available for disposal and that they decided that it wouldn't be disposed. Further to that, we heard through Phil that the council was now then considering the sale of the asset, and it was in a council meeting, and it was approved that they would actually transfer that asset out from the council. Okay. Following the transfer out from the council, following that information that was given to us, we didn't know anything about that in the council, and so we pursued Thanet Council, and Jane actually sent a letter to Miss Plant at Thanet Council, which I'll read to you now, to express our interest in this community asset. The council notes, this is from Birchington Parish Council, the council notes that Rossetti Gardens, Birchington, is due to be considered for disposal on Cabinet on the 17th of December 25, where it actually was agreed for disposal. Dante Gabriel Rossetti was a joint founder of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. He's an internationally famous artist and poet with paintings in many galleries, including the Tate. He died on the 9th of April 1882, and his resting place is at All Saints Church, Birchington, in a grave marked in the churchyard with a Celtic cross. Rossetti Gardens is another tribute to Rossetti, who is an important part of village heritage, and a obelisk and plinth donated by the Rossetti side stand in the gardens, making it a notable feature. The council, the Birchington Parish Council, considers Rossetti Gardens to be a significant heritage asset, and as you're aware, has previously tried to secure the future of the asset. However, COVID and staff turnover were both detrimental in those efforts. If TDC decides that Rossetti Gardens is a surplus asset, the council requests that it be offered to the council on the terms previously agreed to the previous asset transfer negotiations. So that's really where we are up to now. We've had no reply, I've done, Jane, yet to that request from Thanet District Council. So we're waiting on them to come back onto us. And the decision for us to make is whether we wish to have Rossetti Gardens as a community asset. And if so, we probably need to vote and decide that at this meeting, so we can proceed in agreeing the funding that we may have available to purchase that asset.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments around the table? Councillor Fellows.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I mean, yeah, I spoke at Cabinet at quite length and gave all the information you gave, history lesson of Gabriel Rossetti, and also all the history of how we tried to transfer it. Fairly short answers back from the Cabinet member that we were just going to be treated as equal bidders on whoever else wanted to buy it, which I was disappointed with. We have been offered a meeting with the Cabinet member and the officer, Andrea Plant, and if we agree, then I will organise that meeting and we can state our case, because I don't believe we should be equal bidders. I think it should be a community asset transfer, not just sale. It is, like I think you were saying, that it's up for transfer. It's not up for transfer. It's up for a straight sale. So I think we need to go and state our case that that shouldn't be the way it's done.
Can I come back also? Jane has sought some legal advice through the Society of Local Council Clerks, and their council lawyer basically said this: whilst I would appreciate or anticipate that Thanet will claim all previous correspondence and be subject to contract, and therefore non-binding, I certainly consider that you should revert to them pointing out that the council had previously agreed to acquire the land, and it's quite possible that Thanet District Council does not appreciate the progress that had previously been made on the transfer. And we recommend that you're quite forceful and also point out the land is subject to a right of way and a statute of community interest. So,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other points around the table? Can I then suggest a motion that says, I think first up, before I propose the motion, we need to note that if we go ahead and try and secure Rossetti Gardens, this will be more expense. Where we have some money, we have an underspend this year, which may be able to accommodate it, depending on how much this comes out at. But it is, as has already been stated, this is unlikely to be a free good, and so it will incur some expense. So can I propose a motion? Sorry, yes, go on.
Can you confirm whether there's from that to the TDC at present?
Yes. We understand that the land is used under license by Christie's,
Yeah.
and that TDC receive an income. We don't know how assured that income is into the future. Councillor Tiley might.
That is currently at £750 an annum.
I just think it might be pertinent for those present to know that that's the case.
Yep.
They don't know already.
Yep.
I have made a provision in next year's budget of £10,000 towards Rossetti Gardens. So we've made some provision there because we need to make provision rather than nothing. So that will help.
Okay. Can I suggest then that we consider a motion which is to delegate authority to the clerk in consultation with the chairman of Environment and Open Spaces, that's Councillor Tiley, to vigorously pursue negotiations with TDC to secure the transfer or purchase of Rossetti Gardens by Birchington Parish Council, subject to approval of full council of the final arrangements.
Yeah.
All those in favour, or propose and second? All in favour? It's unanimous. I wonder then, to take that forward, whether perhaps Councillor Fellows, maybe you could arrange a meeting.
I will
between reps from here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's move on then to item 9, Birchington Library Tenancy Agreement. Councillor Preble. This is yours.
Yeah. Okay.
Could I just point out it's item 8?
Sorry, my numbering
Yes,
gone,
8.
in my notes, the numbering's gone wrong.
Okay.
Okay, yep.
The decision many years ago to rent part of the library was made in good faith to help ensure that the library service remains in Birchington. Kent County Council, who own the library, say the library service here is not under threat and the building is not on their surplus asset list, so it's not available for purchase. The combination of rent and contribution towards running costs is a significant cost to the Birchington Precept, as office use is not being successful. As a meeting venue, it's got limited availability and cost per meeting is relatively high. As a potential community hub, the business case is high risk. In all these circumstances, we recommend to use a breakpoint to end the rental agreement. Notice has to be given by the end of February for the agreement to end August 2026. So on the budget, draft budget, we've made provision only for staying here for 6 months. We do wish to help the Birchington Heritage Trust to stay at the library, and initial discussion with KCC has indicated this may well be possible. The budget contains a financial contribution from BPC to the Trust, if needed, towards possible relocation within the library. So the request is to use the breakpoint and to cancel the lease arrangements.
Any comments around the table? Nope.
I agree.
Okay. So I'd like to propose then that we serve 6 months' notice under the terms of the current tenancy agreement with the KCC that that Birchington Parish Council wishes to terminate its tenancy of the library on the 31st of August 2026.
Can
Do I
I
have a
just,
proposal and
can I
second?
just ask one question?
Second.
So following the date in August, where will we be holding our council meetings in the future?
To be arranged. It may be that we rent this space.
Rent the space back.
Yeah, it will be cheaper than
The lease.
you calculated. It was £1,000 a meeting last time around last year.
Yeah.
So do I have a proposer for that motion? Councillor Houghton, seconder,
Second,
Councillor
yeah.
Prebble. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against? And abstentions? One abstention. Thank you. Let's then move on to the next item, which is setting the budget for 26-27. I'll ask the clerk to lead on this item, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've circulated a paper which gives you of the budget setting process. We began the budget setting process back in November 2025 with a workshop for all members. In that workshop, members were provided with parish council accounting statements, which showed actual expenditure against budget up to the 30th of September, so effectively the half-year position, and a forecast of expenditure from the 1st of October through to the 31st of March, which the combined piece of work provided members with an estimated financial year-end position. During the workshop, members reviewed the estimated year-end position and also discussed the work programme and associated estimated budgets for the 26-27 financial year. And then, using the data from that workshop, I prepared the first draft of the budget. Like with anything, when you sort of start talking about everything you want to buy, you put it all together, and that gave us a first draft which indicated a precept of £304,955. The budget for the precept for the previous year was 190,000. So we realised that we did have to do some work to actually pare the budget down. And so the first draft was circulated to all of the committee chairmen. It was reviewed by myself and the chairman of finance, and we made some initial adjustments. What we made sure of doing at that time is putting the rationale behind each of the adjustments on our working paper so that everyone could see how we'd got from A to B. Following the exercise, we actually became aware of additional items that were not known at the time that we had the initial workshop. And they needed to be factored into the budget. So the items included the independent report from LCC, which looked at staffing recommendations and the way that we are structured with our staff. The TDC cabinet decision to dispose of Rossetti Gardens, that was dated December, so that wasn't factored in originally. So we had to make provision for potentially for that to happen. The library issue that we've just spoken about, and also at that time we were also in a situation where we were using the first draft was using the tax base from the previous year, because Thanet District Council doesn't make us aware of the tax base for the forthcoming year until during December. So that's the only time that we can really sort of like home in on what our budget will look like, what our precepts would look like. So those items were factored in, and they were added to the draft budget working papers. So a second draft budget was then sent out to the chairman, the vice chairman, and the committee chairs just in the lead up to Christmas. The second draft budget indicated a better figure in terms of the precept at 283,955. But we felt that there was still some work that could be done. So the first day back after Christmas, which was the 5th of January, still smarting from the news of 1,600 new homes, we've had a further discussion, and following this, the third version of the draft budget working papers were circulated to all the members. So the budget was prepared making the assumptions that the council took into consideration the recommendation from the staffing review. It was also done on the assumption that we would proceed with Rossetti, which is why we're discussing that this evening. It was also prepared with the assumption that we would exercise the break clause in the library, which we've discussed this evening. And that draft budget was then discussed at a meeting of the Finance Committee held last week on the 13th of January. At that meeting, members agreed to recommend the budget that you see here this evening of a total budget of £334,555. It's important to note that is the budget, not our precept demand. So that's the overall budget that we were, the Finance Committee put forward as a recommendation. The paper that I've circulated, that's available for anyone to see on our website, shows the breakdown of that budget. It's important to note that we have we hold £63,000 in reserve, cash on deposit, and that it's anticipated that the council will have an income amounting to around 15,100 for the 26-27 financial year. So that is a total of 78,000 towards that 334,500. So which would mean a precept of 256,455. I think Councillor Prebble mentioned this in his overview earlier, that this is equivalent to £62.55 per household per year, and that using the TDC tax base, that's calculated using the TDC tax base of £4,099.75, and it equates to an increase of £16.11 from last year. So last year we were at £46.44. We're going up to £62.55. So that's £16.11 per household per year increase. So I think by giving an explanation of that, I've kind of straddled two agenda items, because the first thing that we need to do is to, as a council, agree the budget. And then the second thing that we need to do is to, if we agree that, then approve our precept demand on Thanet District Council. I have to provide that to Thanet District Council by the end of this month, because that goes into the council tax calculation. So if anyone's got any questions.
Thank you. So let's first then consider the budget. Do we have any comments or questions? No?
The only comment I got is all councils mention what the percentage is. Like Kent County Council put up 4%, Thanet I think it's 5%. What I tried to work out, what's their percentage?
It works out at 34. Yeah, 34.7%.
So when next year's come, will that come down because we've got to put this, make a hole in it? Have we got what will be next year then? Won't be that again.
We can't preempt next year's budget. We have, because we've got to go through that process. Okay. But you know, that will be the process that we engage with in October, November this year.
I was at a meeting, said it was going to just be a one-off, this one, because we regarding the pensions and things. Mentioned this is just going to be one-off.
Yes, I understand the question. Yes, I think there are a number of one-off single payment items that are covered. Obviously, the precept is a recurrent payment, which runs into future years. So it may be, only may be, that there's an opportunity to reduce the precept next time once the one-off items have been paid for. But as we've already covered in some of the earlier discussion, there are always unexpected expenditures that arise, which may scupper that as an idea. So we can't, as the clerk said, we can't commit to anything other than until we get into the discussions in October, November later this year, if indeed we're all the same people sitting around this table.
I was just going to point out,
More, yeah.
we're obliged to be governed by the government's budgets, so national insurance goes up, obviously has an effect, which is obviously we can't predict what's going to happen with that, and we have no choice.
Councillor Prebble.
Yeah. If you just wanted to make a comparison about some other parishes, I've got other parishes here who are charging 85, 83, 72, 85, 81. So in relation to those other parishes, we're actually at a lower level, which is part of the problem, that over the years it's not really increased enough.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Chair, is that we should have put it up many years ago.
Playing catch up.
Yeah.
And catch up.
Yes,
That's what you're saying.
that's what I'm saying.
Agree. Yeah.
Thank you. So, any other points? No, thank you. So the proposal is then that we adopt the recommended budget as set out in the papers. Do I have a proposer?
Well,
Seconder? And all in favour, please? Thank you. The second part then, or the next item I think on the agenda, is to agree the precept. So as clerks explained, the precept is effectively a product of the budget. So whilst the two are inevitably locked together, we have to consider the precept separately. So any comments on the precept? No. Can I have a proposer then to propose the precept as recommended in the papers?
Yeah.
Proposer, seconder. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Okay, let's then move on to the Pride in Place Impact Fund. Councillor Prebble.
thank you. Pride in Place Fund is really a question of government giving money to local authorities. In fact, it's giving £1.5 million to Thanet District Council to help places deliver visible improvements, which has to be done by March 2027. We've asked Thanet, because we don't know yet, that we receive a fair share of this funding to make improvements to the village. I have to say TDC have been slow releasing information about this funding, and we're pressing for openness as to how it will be allocated. We still don't know. In fact, we feel that too often government funding goes direct to the main towns and villages are overlooked. So please chase your district councillors. We do have some project ideas. These have been circulated. And we need to try and decide whether we want to go to a couple of statement projects or several smaller projects. But afterwards, if any of the public have got any ideas for small improvements to the village, which could be completed in the next period of time, we'd welcome that to come into the parish office. Nick, say.
Yep. Any questions or points? Councillor Moore.
Can I just suggest that if there's funding for large projects, that I suggest which probably comes around very rarely. So my point of view is that if we can identify large projects, that would be the way to go. And then later on, if funding is available for the smaller projects, we go for those at that time.
Okay, so Councillor Hudson.
Yeah, Chairman. Excuse me. I think it's worth mentioning that over the years there's been large amounts of money spent in Thanet, but it was has been mentioned previously. It's gone to the major towns, and this is the first year that I remember that they've actually invited the parishes to put programs forward for consideration. I think it's a step forward, and we should certainly take advantage of it. and get some monies towards improvements in Birchington. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The comments? No. Can I suggest then we consider a motion that the Chair of Finance be delegated to seek funds from the Pride in Place Impact Fund for local improvements, and that the Chair of Environmental and Open Spaces identify suitable schemes to put against that budget if we are successful in gaining funds. Can I have a proposer? Second. Thank you. All in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. The next item is to look at the AGAR assertion 10. This is to do with our annual audit and the standards that the auditors will be examining around our IT systems and the way they operate and the way they're being used. The intention was to bring a draft policy to this meeting, but the events that we've been discussing earlier rather push this to one side. So I think as an item, this needs to be deferred, and would suggest that perhaps it becomes an item for, subject to the chair of the committee agreeing, it becomes something for the General Purposes Committee to have a look at. I don't know, Councillor Fellows, would you feel that's appropriate?
Finance. Yeah, I think it's a clerk's responsibility, I think, more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, a draft IT policy for IT that we're not having, I think is a bit strange, but
we've already got this as well.
Can I just raise a point on that? It's assertion 10.
Yeah.
In the AGAR, when we get to the AGAR, where we have to actually go through all the assertions and actually agree that we have certain things in place. One of the things that is new assertion 10 is that we do have to have an IT policy in place. So in preparation for this evening's meeting, both Bill and I have been working on a draft IT policy, but it just wasn't in a completed state to bring it to the table this evening, simply because of other things that have taken precedent, over, priority over the last few days. So I think if we carry on drafting it, if we can bring it to GP just to do that whole sort of sense checking it really, but we do have to have one place.
I still believe that we should be looking at IT for our councils. I know it was voted against at a last meeting. I mean, the members of the public sitting here looking at us with piles of paper must be aghast at how much we're spending on printing. And I mean, I've 6 years as a district councillor, I've never had one bit of paper given to me, because I have a Chromebook, it's all in there. But that's for the future.
Okay, so regarding the policy itself, if we can
carry on drafting it,
drafting this and bring it through process in due course.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's then move on to the next item, review of committees. This arises from two main sources. One, our internal auditors, and two, the review of staffing that was carried out later this year. Both reviews note a considerable amount of time is spent in meetings, and that those meetings is sometimes not particularly high. So that, coupled with the agreement that we made in the spring of last year that we would review committee structures 6 months on from that time, come together to make this report, and it contains a number of recommendations. The report has been circulated to members with in advance for consideration. So I offer the paper for discussion and for some direction as to where you would like to go with it next. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, having gone through these recommendations, can I suggest that we take one recommendation at a time and discuss it and agree to it?
Happy to do that.
Okay.
I'm happy about where this sits, because this was.
Yep.
You want to do it now?
Have I got an old?
No, that's you've got the old agenda.
Okay. So then, looking at the report, let's then turn to recommendation 1. So the intention of this is related. We mentioned the staffing review. out of hours meetings, the structure and the nature of the way that meetings are run, the frequency of meetings, all add to the workload of staff in the office, which then knocks on to the amount of resource that we require in the office. So there's a connection between the staffing review and the review of committees. So the recommendations, one is that the organisation and conduct of committee meetings should be structured to encourage purposeful debate, clear decision making and accountability for agreed action. So this is just about the conduct of meetings and to ensure that we have, rather than it being a sort of an open discussion, that we have some proper structure to standing committee meetings. This is an internal thing that is down to chairs of committee to organise and manage. The second recommendation associated with that is that where necessary, council should require council to ensure that the benefits of meetings are maximised. So, in chairing meetings or taking minutes or other aspects of meetings, that training should be available to councillors as required. So that's the first segment. This is about the organisation and conduct of meetings.
The only thing I will say is that I think it's very good because there's a lot that we've had in the past where we've talked a lot and made decisions on a lot of aspects, but not really followed through on those decisions because they haven't been documented. So I think it's very important that we have a much more rigid structure.
But also, Chairman, I feel we've got a written report here setting out the detail. We should be able to go straight to the recommendations to make a decision. I really don't think, unless it's a particularly big issue, we need to do much discussing.
I am aware, I think that's a fair point, but I'm aware that there may be particular recommendations that councillors may want to comment on. So, Councillor Moore.
Yeah. Whereas I agree with both those recommendations. There's two lines within the background to this, and I brought it up before regarding meetings. Both the audit report and staffing review reports, I'm assuming these are from outside auditors, noted that committee meetings consume too much resource and are not operating effectively. That may or may not be correct. But what I don't like is when we're being told how much time we should allocate to a meeting by someone who's not involved with the running of our parish council. It might be different to other parish councils, but I'm here to represent people sitting over there and the people out there and maybe listening to this. And if it needs time taken to debate properly and discuss things, then I think that should be how we run it. But effectively, as in recommendations 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to recommendation 3. Full council should debate whether it's more beneficial for some or all committee meetings to be held during normal working hours. So this is one that's a recurrent issue. Councillor Moore.
Yeah. Prospective candidates in the upcoming election may be looking at on what's happened in the past that the meetings go ahead in the evenings. They're working all day and may not be able to. It's the same for the TDC councillors. I don't know exactly how their meetings work. I know with Kent County Council, a lot of their meetings take place during the day, and if their workplaces are okay with it, that's fine. But another point is we might have commitments on particular days, so getting a committee together during the day, that may be a problem.
Yeah, I think the point of that recommendation was that it needs to be a subject for probably when the calendar for the annual calendar of meetings is set, and the timings of those meetings can then be agreed at. So it's very specific here that full council should debate this, and I think probably at the next annual meeting.
I was going to say, can we defer this till after the elections? This one.
The next recommendation is full council.
Sorry, it doesn't matter. I was just going to say, we're removing the frequency of meetings, making less meetings, less committees. I know you want to hold them during the day. I think we should be holding these meetings where we can engage with the public at the maximum amount of exposure.
Yeah.
Not holding them during the day. Less meetings and holding them during the day. I think it's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, I think it's not that this is what I want. I'm saying the council should make a decision, a conscious decision that the
We
meetings
can't
will be
agree
held.
this paper
because
that recommendation,
right.
isn't it?
But the impact is that our employees will need to then stay on in the evenings, and they need time off in lieu during the day. So we need to take that into account when we look at staffing structures, which will be a subject of discussion later on this evening.
It's a council. It's part of what councils do.
Councillor Moore.
Yeah, can I suggest that we implement recommendations 1 and 2, see how, and that may well affect recommendation 3.
Okay, fine. Let's move on to recommendation 4. The full council should determine a process and date by when the current live streaming arrangements will be reviewed and debated. That's not something to decide now, but it should be an item for discussion at a future council meeting. It then comes to committee structure, and the recommendation is that we should reduce the number of committees down to 2: finance, governance and policy, place planning and environment, with a subcommittee for planning and an HR panel to deal with specific staffing and HR issues. So the recommendation, the next recommendation is that the new committee structure and a cycle of meetings where standing committees meet bi-monthly, no, every other 2 months. And that coincides with the months when full council is not meeting. So there's a relationship between committee meetings and full council. That new committee structure and cycle of meetings be adopted for implementation at the next annual meeting or such times as when committee membership is considered. Councillor Wright.
Sorry, I think planning should be a statutory. It is a statutory committee.
Standalone committee.
Yeah.
For a parish council.
Yeah.
Okay, we will check that with the regulations to make sure that we deal with that correctly. Councillor Moore.
Looking at the document, planning applications that will be considered in May, that will be outside of the annual meeting, but would that meeting be specifically going by this purely for planning applications?
Yes. So the planning applications committee would look solely at planning applications, and then matters of highways, open spaces and other matters within the remit of the standing committee will be dealt with at the full standing committee. And the planning committee would report to the standing committee as and when.
So it would be a committee specifically for planning applications?
Yes, it's a subcommittee of that standing committee. And then the final recommendation is that terms of reference be drawn up for each committee, and that other council policy documents which refer to various committees be revised accordingly, which of course is a natural product of that change. So those are the recommendations that, and I think the point about timings of meetings and the review of streaming are ones for future council meetings to consider, and that the new structure as recommended comes into play when the next committees are appointed. So that's for discussion. And what the question is, what do you want to do with this paper? Does it need to go to a council workshop? Is it something you wish to adopt, or where do you want to take it?
Yeah, I'm just concerned, Chair, that you've come with this paper, and there's too many things in there that we're not agreeing with. So I think that needs to have a full council discussion and then bring it back here for
understanding of it.
It was circulated to chairs of committees some time ago and invited comments. I had a few comments, and of course it's been circulated to members, and only one member has contacted me to discuss it. So if you would like to set up a separate workshop, then I think we perhaps do that.
So I think this is a procedural matter, really. We can't turn up at a full council meeting and then start argy-bargy over papers that have gone out, and people should have read them. And if they'd had any comments, they should have made the comments. Can't turn up now and start saying, well, I don't know about this and I don't know about that. Those remarks should have been made well in advance. So that's one thing. The second
thing, debate by email, Max. I'm sorry.
One at a time, please.
the second thing is that you can cut this any way you like. There are 10 councillors. Have as many committees as you want, but there are only 10 people who are going to do the work at the end of the day. And so, to me, I fully support the two committee business, and they pick up. We can cut through. Maybe those meetings are a bit longer than they would have been otherwise, but it also has to be balanced against the report from the consultants about the staff commitments. So you've got to put that in the mix as well. So I'm all for the two committees when we come round to making a decision on that. I'm ambivalent about the streaming business, as I've said in the past, and I understand the argument for having meetings in the evening. I'm relatively ambivalent about that as well. That's my view.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Prebble?
What concerns me really, we've got election coming up soon, and we're planning all this. I think it should be on hold until that new council will meet and put the paper there, and or just discuss it at another subcommittee. I think we're rushing it again. I know you sent it around, and I've studied it. I was just thinking there's lots of bits and pieces needs to be pulled out and discussed further and get a full agreement. Like Tim was saying.
Yeah, the reason the paper was brought forward was because it felt necessary to do this before the election, because the election will be followed by a general meeting where we appoint members of the committee. So to appoint to the current committees and then to follow that through with a reorganisation seems to be rather a waste of time. But I take on board what people have said. Sorry, who was that? Councillor Prebble, please.
I think it's important we take on board what the internal auditor said. There was far too much discussion in committee meetings. Committee meetings should be there to make the decisions for the committee and to recommend forward to full council.
So when do we discuss things?
You discuss it in working groups. And the working groups...
Can we have a working group to discuss
the working groups can meet at any convenient time for that particular working group.
You can't
stifle
debate.
No,
Okay.
you can't stifle debate,
draw,
but you can't debate and debate
okay,
and not make a decision.
Well,
let's draw a line. Let's draw a line
13
here.
says here
Councillor-
to consider the report. So what are we doing if we're not
Councillor
allowed to talk
Fellows,
about
please.
Well-
Let's draw a line here. Clearly, it's an own goal on my part, trying to streamline things, but encouraging too much debate. So let's move to a workshop with this and bring it back at a future date. Thank you. Let's move on.
Can I just
Councillor
say, but this is a prime example of what Phil's saying,
Yes.
that it's debated and it takes however long it takes. But I understand about controlling meetings. There probably is no right or wrong
No,
way around
okay,
it.
thank you. Let's move on then. And we will move that to a workshop.
Can you vote on that, please?
So the proposal is that we move this to a workshop and bring it back to a future meeting. All those in favour? Against? Thank you, none. Apologise for putting that on. Let's then move to the standard items. Reports from our district councillors.
Yeah.
Who'd like to start?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I had reports of excessive leaves and mulch in Park Lane, and I organised the clean up there. I think it was about a few days before we had a storm, so I'm not sure if it actually happened or the storm cleared it all away, but it seems fairly clear. Obviously been discussions about Rossetti and SP16. There was an issue with a wall between Yew Tree Gardens and Neen Close, and some discussion of whether it's TDCs or belongs to residents, and clearly not TDCs. A rat infestation in Alpha Road. I directed them to get some pest control. An illegal driveway in Kent Gardens is not illegal. I think I spoke to you about that one. Various planning applications, and it was good to see that TDC this week upheld a application in the conservation area, which became a big discussion, and it's good to see that our conservation area has been upheld. Wider things that I'm up to. So I obviously chair scrutiny at Thanet District Council, and we're looking at the moment with about Arlington House. I know it's not a Birchington thing, but currently trying to get the owners of Arlington House to a scrutiny meeting. That TDC have failed for 20 years to change the owners of that, but they're coming to a meeting, one of my meetings on the 11th of February. So if anybody's interested in what's going on there, comes out. Wider again, the chair of the Thanet Area Committee for Kent Association of Local Councils. Today we took part in a meeting Jane was there, of Clark's, where we talked about introducing a parish charter, something that I've been trying to set up for the last 3 years, and that's underway now. So that's a parish charter between this council and the district council to start with, and whatever we set up with this district council is going to be taken into the unitary. I've already said that is going to be the charter that we use, and that's it. Jane might want to add something to that.
Can we do all the councillors and then I'll take questions afterwards? Any other reports from district councillors? Councillor Wright.
Okay, I have been I am currently involved in 3 social care issues from various 3 residents, which I can't really discuss the content of, but I'm hoping that I can liaise with Jason before he disappears tonight on one of them. I've also had a word at TDC about the trees that are being lost to the area. Where along by where I live, there was a 500-year-old walnut tree that we did discuss it with the tree officer, but somehow it got lost in the ether. That tree isn't there anymore. So what I've asked the officer at TDC to look into is that we have a register whereby if anybody wants to have a tree taken down, the person that they employ must inquire to TDC to make sure that that tree is not currently on any at-risk list. What I've noticed is there are a lot of, I would say, fly-by-night tree fellers in the area.
Okay.
And that would stop that. That would make sure that we only lose trees that are necessary.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Councillor Pugh.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be giving the report on behalf of myself and Councillor Cupp. So a couple of things just to touch on things that you've discussed already tonight. So in the Pride of Place funding, I'm sure as district councillors we're more than happy to try and push the case for Birchington to secure some of that funding. We're concerned, all 5 of us really, that the funding will just get swallowed up by the towns and it won't come to villages such as Birchington. There was a motion at the last full council meeting in December where one of the Broadstairs councillors brought a motion forward to try and push for some of that funding to go to Broadstairs. And Councillor Cupp did raise during that debate that actually some of it needs to come to Birchington. So I know that there's a document that's been circulated around that we were copied into that had a bit of a calculation based on what kind of share we could get. And what I would say is that we're really happy to push that and try and make the case, because I think it's really important. You know, big funding like that, as Jim said before, doesn't come around a lot. So, you know, really happy to do that. The other thing was on Rossetti Gardens. I'm going to try and have a look and see if I can dig it out. But I'm pretty sure that in the whole mess of devolution and forming new unitaries, there's something from MHCLG about assets being handed back or handed to town and parish councils within their areas. It's something that Broadstairs and St Peter's Town Council is looking at. And the whole argument is that we've always had this complaint at TDC from the town and parish councils and from residents that, particularly when TDC was going to try and sell off Piermont Hall in Broadstairs, that was then taken back by Broadstairs and St Peter's Town Council, mainly because when the district council was formed in the 70s, it was taken off of Broadstairs Council and all the assets were merged. So I will try and dig out where if that's in writing somewhere, and share that with you, because for Rossetti Gardens, I think that would be a really good point to make.
Yeah.
In that it's fine for the council to try and dispose of these type of assets, but like with Dogacre and like with the recreation ground, the parish should kind of have first right of refusal. Because the whole point of this devolution is that once this big unitary gets formed, it's going to be very hard for the unitary to then be able to particularly maintain open spaces. And that's what we've been told is a big driver in this, is that it's supposed to be putting it back into more focused local decision making. So I'll try and dig that out and share that with you. Couple of things the Councillor Cupp and I are working on. There's a few things that are in either that we can't update you on at the moment, but we're hoping to make progress relatively quite soon. Minnis Bay car park. Councillor Moore has shared some concerns with us about the state of the car park. We were due to meet with the relevant cabinet member, Councillor Bright, at TDC before Christmas. He had to cancel at last minute, short notice, so we're trying to now get in a new date to take him round. We'll also include some of the concerns that Councillor Moore has shared with us about the service of the car park as well. So we're hoping to get that confirmed soon. Same with the play equipment down in Minis Bay. There's hopefully going to be an update on that soon that we can update you on. But Councillor Cupp is keen as ever to get a new photograph with all of the play equipment when it's installed, like he did with the last play equipment 20 years ago. Or was it 10 years ago? I don't know. The final thing is, it's quite a big thing that's coming up at TDC, is the annual budget. So there's a lot of work that's going on at the moment. There's a lot that's coming to Cabinet tomorrow night. There's a lot of things that we're looking into at the moment, because there's quite a lot that concerns us about the budget this year. This will be the 3rd year that we'll be dipping into reserves to fund things, and it's not a political thing for any of us, particularly us 5 here in Birchington. It's more a concern that if we're going to fund new things, and it's up to the administration to, with their majority, to decide what they fund, but we really need to be able to make sure that we can afford those things, particularly with the merging of us essentially into a new East Kent unitary, and all of our budgets merging. I don't think this is the time for us to get in astronomical amounts of debt and then try and kind of say to the ratepayers of Ashford, Canterbury, Folkestone, Dover, whichever ones we may join with, oh, best of luck, you know, you're stuck with us now. Whilst we're kind of in a good but a lucky position that the sea borders us on almost 2 or 3 sides. So that means that it's quite obvious who we'll pair with. At least it's Canterbury and Dover at the very least. It doesn't mean that we need to be irresponsible now. So there's quite a few briefings that are going on at the moment. The budget will be coming to TDC in about 6 weeks' time, trying to come up with a plan to better understand what it is that we can push for. The improvements that are going to be made to Minis Bay play area is only being made because last year we put forward an amendment to add, I think it was about £260,000, I think it was £500,000 over 2 years, specifically for new play areas. And we were told at the time that it was ridiculous. We were just political point scoring, which I'm sure Councillor Cupp will tell you we never do. Me and George never do that. But we were trying to make the point that not just Minis Bay play area, but there was a need for a new play area north of Canterbury Road in Westgate. We were told that we were just trying to put a good news story on a leaflet and that there wasn't a need for them. But we managed to get it passed anyway. And then lo and behold, when TDC did an assessment of all of the play equipment in the district that needs an upgrade, they found that actually Minis Bay play area was almost top of the list. So we've managed to get, I think, about £60,000 out of that 210,000 to do it. And they've also offered, I think, £30,000 to Westgate Town Council to try and help funds for a new play equipment north of Canterbury Road in Westgate, because there isn't one between Minis Bay and the other side of Margate. I think it's the one outside Bugsley's. Yeah, Councillor Cupp opened that, funny enough. On the swing. So that's the type of things that we're going to be pushing for. We were trying last year to ensure there was more funding, but again, not adding to debt. We were trying to find revenue somewhere. And I suppose this goes back to what Councillor Wright mentioned about tree planting across the district. We have one of the lowest tree covers in the county. That wasn't possible at the time, so we may potentially look at that. But once we know more about the TDC budget, because I think it impacts on all of us, and particularly ratepayers, we will keep you updated and let you know.
Thank you.
That's it.
Any questions for our district councillors? Cracky, one at a time, please. Go on, Councillor Prebble.
Yes, Rudy, you mentioned Minis Bay car park. Is there any activity on Alpha Road car park to fill the holes in? We did mention this to you last summer.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, I looked into it at the time, and the response I got from the asset team at the council was that they're in dispute with KCC about the access of where it starts. We were looking into, there was an issue with CCTV coverage about 6 months ago, where we were told that CCTV doesn't actually cover the whole car park, it only covers some of it. So be careful where you park your car if somebody rams into it, because it may be in a black spot. When we have Councillor Bright down here to have a look at Minis Bay car park, considering he's going to be driving past this anyway, I'll suggest that we stop off and have a look there, because what I'm trying to do is, rather than just go through officers, get a bit of a computer says no response, we're trying to show them that actually if they're a little bit more inventive, we're trying to show the cabinet members, if they're a little bit more inventive about how they think of revenue and stuff like that, we may be able to fund some of the improvements that we need to be made. So I'll try and make sure that we come and have a look at that. If you see us wandering around the car park with somebody that doesn't look like they're from Birchington,
okay,
that'll be
okay. Don't sit down, Councillor Moore.
Yes, I was going to suggest that you met Councillor Bright in Alpha Road car park because of that very reason. The toilets in Alpha Road car park, they seem to be closed every now and again.
Ladies closed, women's closed, ladies closed.
Yes. Is there an ongoing problem, a recurring problem rather with it? And secondly, there's a notice put on the door to go elsewhere, but it doesn't actually say where else.
Please use the other one.
Yeah, which I don't think. But is there a recurring problem with those toilets?
I know there was years ago with the drainage, with the sewage, but I think that was solved. So I just think they just need a refurb.
Okay.
Solved.
I think that was
They're due for a refurb, I think.
I think that was one of the reasons
No, the
as
Minutes Bay car
well.
parks are. The Minutes
Sorry.
Bay toilets are.
Yeah.
I think
Councillor
that
Wright.
was one of the reasons we decided not to require the toilets, wasn't it, Neville?
Okay, let's.
I was going to say it's quite inconvenient for people that need to go and can't.
Let's move on.
Going on from that, Kent Gardens situation.
Yeah.
Has the resident been advised that sent you the email what the outcome of it was?
No, because it says here that Jim's told me to contact you.
Yeah.
So I've contacted you back because it. Yeah.
All I'm asking
I have forwarded you the email.
No, but
I haven't spoken to Mike Pepper. No.
Is this a council matter, or is this something that can be done outside?
No, just asking.
Yeah,
if he could let the resident know what the outcome of it was.
Just go read the advice. Planning permission is only required if they remove the boundary wall, create a new hard stand, and install a drop curb all at the same time. Planning permission is not required just to start parking on your front garden.
Can you let the resident know?
I will.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Brown.
Any updates regarding the speed watch?
We're on questions to the district councillors at the moment.
Councillor Fellows, because he was at the meeting.
I believe there's a local person that's taken it on now, isn't it?
Sorry, yes, the clerk can perhaps update the speed watch.
Do you want to, yeah, so with Speedwatch, sorry, Paul Reese is still standing up.
I don't mind.
Sure.
Don't worry, I'll wait until the end.
So we had a Speedwatch meeting on, I think it was about the 12th of December, and it was really good because a number of residents turned up to it and signed up to the Speedwatch programme. So Alan Watson has contacted those individuals, and I believe that some training took place last week.
No.
Oh, Pat, saying no.
I wasn't made aware of that.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's coming up.
Oh, sorry, I beg your
And we've
pardon.
got to say which days we can do at the end of February. towards the end
Okay,
of February.
sorry, I thought that some training had happened, but certainly we've now got a couple of coordinators on board, and we have got an active group of people that are going through the process of being trained, and so that sort of moved on somewhat.
The reason I asked because there's a program on the radio the other week saying that people should have cameras in case there's any trouble. Witnesses, they should have a camera.
Body worn camera.
I'm sure that'll be an operational issue which the
They-
Speedwatch people will address.
Yeah, I just want to highlight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
no,
have them,
fair
I
point.
think.
Let's Councillor Hudson, you have a question.
Yeah, it was just a point really when, excuse me, when CTV is mentioned. All the CTV in Birchington is paid for by Birchington residents. It's ours. It's not Planet. If only you can.
TV is in
Help
the
the
car
road.
park. Is
Yeah, if you can
is here.
persuade
ours,
Planet
yeah.
to give us some extra cameras, we'd all love it.
Right, thank you.
So TDC's got really sophisticated CCTV, and I've been in the control room, and they can scan, they can zoom in from, I want to say half a mile, but that's preposterous. But the police are in there quite a lot because of how good quality it is. So if that's something that we need to look into to see if we can get something down here that of course will be managed by TDC, but I think it's particularly for community safety and stuff like that, it's probably a good idea. Then we can definitely look into it.
I
Okay,
think there
thank
was
you.
one thing at one point, sorry Reece, sorry, but I was just saying about CCTV. I think at one point they were talking about TDC potentially adopting our cameras and putting them at one point. The problem that we have with the CCTV camera in Alpha Road car park is that and Albion Road car park is there are trees growing over trees in people's gardens. That's what's been reported. The trees are obscuring a bit of the view. So that's what we've reported. Try and get those, you know, out of the way of the camera.
Fine. Okay.
All right.
I can try and chase that up because the council can cut anything that comes over
All right,
the boundary.
I'll let you know about it.
Thanks. You can probably sit down, Reece.
Sure.
Councillor Wright, one, is that a
Just
question?
while
Is it
you're
a
talking
point?
about car parks, you just reminded me. Every time I've been into Alpha Road car park, I've had to talk to somebody who can't pay. The machine's not working. Is there a way we can address Ringo to make sure that
That's a Thanet Council matter, so as district councillor, perhaps that's something you could look into.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
I will try my best, but it's not nice.
There's just a question, sorry, a question for
I've
Reece.
finished it, Max.
Oh, sorry, Reece.
Yeah, this business of disposal of assets. Is the budget in such a bad order really for TDC that at some stage TDC might just dispose of the assets and say the car park is now yours, sort it out?
No.
Or are they not quite at that stage?
I don't have the figures. I don't know the figures on the top of my head, Max. They were in a press release that the council put out a couple of weeks ago, so I can dig it out and I can send it to you. But the council's trying to find, I think, make disposals of in excess of £1 million to help plug the gap in 6 million, help plug the gap in the budget, which is just crazy. The problem is that whereas before TDC has been keen to dispose of assets or hand them over to parish councils for almost a nil sum or paying legal fees and stuff like that, they did that quite a lot in Minster with the 2 car parks. They're less likely to do that now because, unfortunately, because there's a gap that needs to be filled, they're trying to find a monetary value for all of these assets when really you can't really give them away, if I'm honest, to anyone that isn't a parish entity or a community group. So that's part of the issue, really, is that even with TDC probably ceasing to exist in a couple of years' time, they're still trying to ensure, I mean, their value for the assets that they own. But I think there's a bit of a blurring of the understanding of that, because particularly with Rossetti Gardens, I mean, if they think they can put that for auction and it will then sell for £100,000 or something, I mean, you know, they need to get their heads checked because that's just it's not gonna be.
Apologies, Councillor Wright, I cut you short.
Yeah, no, it's just we've got an elderly population who obviously get very flustered when they're at the parking machine. But the times that I've been in that car park and had to say, and Jane, I think, will back me up, say to them, can you tell the clerk and make sure that she can keep a record? It's never working.
No.
They can't put money in it, they can't use their card, and they don't know how to use Ringo.
No. I fully sympathise with that view, and I think you're right. And no doubt the much awaited parking strategy will deal with that as one of the early wins. Yep, thank you. Right, move on. Thank you for your reports, district councillors. Ward Police Officer PC Steve England is unable to attend this evening. Did he provide a report?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Luke's not. He's not
Oh
here
yes.
either,
Yeah, I'll come to that in a moment.
Yes, so I have got a report from Steve. If I'll read it out to you. Good morning. I hope you're keeping well. Unfortunately, I'll be unable to attend the next BPC meeting as it falls on a rest day. Please pass on my apologies. Please relay the following items on my behalf. Birchington Community Speedwatch continues to gain traction after the briefing event in December, which was very well attended. We now have sufficient volunteers to create a group along with a coordinator, with training scheduled shortly. Any additional members of the public interested in joining are very welcome and simply need to contact Birchington Parish Council, who will be able to provide them with registration details. And then he goes on to say, in July 25, I stopped a vehicle on Canterbury Road, Birchington, which was carrying a trailer of waste, which was from a property clearance. This week, I've been updated by Canterbury District Council that they have prosecuted the driver for various waste and environmental offences, including fly tipping and failing to provide a waste transfer notice, which has now resulted in a £1,600 fine. And that's kind regards, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Let's then, Jason, thank you for your hanging in there. Report from our community warden. Thank
Good
you.
evening, Chair. Good evening, councillors. Nice quick one for me this evening, because I'm not that long come back from annual leave. Continuing to support both Westgate and Birchington South. Doing a lot of work with Heart in the Community, the wellbeing groups, both the Birchington Library and the Methodist Church Hall. They're going fantastically. Completed a scam talk stroke presentation at an all women's group in Birchington. That went really well. Completed a scam talk stroke presentation for a very large group, Birchington Residents Association. That went extremely well. Really, really good turnout there. Completed another ward surgery with police beat officer Stephen England at the Parish Council office. Take advantage of that, obviously. What we're doing, obviously, the ward surgery, stroke information warning, bring lots and lots of safety freebies, lots of information leaflets, and that's well worth coming to. It's all bi-monthly, so we do one in Westgate and then Birchington, and obviously rotate it like that. And Jane, along with Stephen England, make sure it's in the media, so forth, giving people, you know, plenty of notice if they so choose to come and speak to either or and see us face to face. Continuing to support Jane and Bill at the Parish Council office. Lots of visual presence around Birchington to support the community. And Chair, this is the one you want to hear, the word project. We've had discussions, I know you're keen. I will start to get organised with replicating another multi-agency community information day on Dog Acre. As the last one I organised on Friday the 15th of August, ran very well with lots of great feedback. So at some point when you're free, we'll get together again, finalise a date, and then I can obviously start speaking to the agencies and getting everybody on board. But we agreed at that point that let's let Christmas and early New Year breathe. But it will jump up on me, so I do need to start getting the ball rolling with all the agencies. So I will speak to you at some point, and then with the dates, because I know you're pushing for. I think you were talking about June, July.
Yeah,
ideally.
We'll speak after outside the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for community warden? Nope. Thank you. Let's move on. I did miss the report from KCC councillors. Not a drama really, because they're unable to be here this evening. So no report from them. Let's then move on to the monthly bank reconciliations.
Right, so I have October's bank reconciliation and the backup documentation there, and I also have November. Apologies, December's is also on the agenda, but I just, again, sorry, I feel like I'm making excuses this evening, but I just didn't have the opportunity to finalise that before this evening's meeting, so that will follow. I think other things have taken over this week, but yeah, so if I pass that, that was...
That's the one I've done.
Okay.
Okay, so while those are being inspected and authorised, can we move on to clerk's correspondence?
I don't have anything to add tonight.
Okay.
Nothing else has come in that hasn't been spoken about.
Okay, so then we move on to date and time of next meeting. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 3rd of March at 6:30 here in the library. Thank you for your attendance and participation this evening. At this moment, I have to now move that the exclusion of the public and press, so that matters pursuant to section 1(2) of the Public Bodies Act can be. Okay. Some money in the meeting as well.
I just so I can get it over.